Hey you guys, welcome back to the show. Hope you're all doing really well. Thanks for joining us again as we share the latest AI news that we see and give you our views really. So hit that like, subscribe, do all those amazing things. Really appreciate your support. And let's dive into it. Will, what have you uncovered? I haven't seen this story yet, so
you haven't seen this story. Well, I'm go then.
I'm new, so I'm gonna have to digest as much as the audience is.
Let us do it. I'll share my screen as always, and this is another Anthropic story because there's actually been a lot of AI news over the last few days, and we're gonna have to cover it off one story at a time, I think, because there's a lot of exciting things. There's another one that I want to talk about tomorrow, probably, so we can talk about that. But we'll talk about this one today because it came out first, and this is Claude Code on the web from Anthropic. And this is interesting because this takes another step towards, not needing to write code. Do you remember what Claude Code is, Ben? Or should I explain it to the audience? What do you think?
Explain it to the audience, 100%, because let's not assume anything.
Claude Code is what we would call a coding agent. It's a proprietary piece of software owned by Anthropic. And basically, it allows you to, as a developer, in your terminal, so a terminal is another piece of software that allows you to sort of low-level interact with your system. But you can also do it through other bits of developer software. Anyway, you can use your terminal to interact with Claude Code, and you can send messages to Claude about asking questions about the code base that you might be in, or the directory that you're in. It can read files, it can write files. It works very much the same as Nanocoder, which is, our own coding CLI. And ours is open source and local first and free to use, whereas Claude Code comes at a big price tag. But anyway, that's how Claude Code works. It allows you to write code very fast, and it allows you to create applications really quickly. But what Anthropic have done is removed the need for developers at all. And they've released Claude Code on the web, but also on your iOS app. I'll quickly play the video. It probably won't come through, but you can see a quick demo of it on the screen. But essentially, it allows you to boot up your iPhone app or your web app, and you can go and you can catch your GitHub repository where we store code, and you can ask it to do things, and it will just work in the background. You don't even have to keep the app open. You can leave. The task has been set, and when it's done, it will send you a notification to say that it's done. Hopefully, what you asked it to do, but obviously, it's not a given. And this is really interesting because obviously Anthropic see a way of the world going where, so you can see it working here, where you don't actually have to write any code yourself, and you just go back and you check in on what your development partner has essentially done, and when you're ready, it can create what is called a pull request, which means it wants to merge it into the main code of your application. It's fascinating stuff. I gave it a go, and it's a very odd experience because it is like giving the reins over to essentially the AI completely. Whereas Claude Code, you're always watching what it's doing. You're always approving things that it's doing, like on the fly. Whereas this way of working, you genuinely do go away. You can stay and watch if you want to, but it's not as helpful as Claude Code. And you come back and it will have done its task. I didn't like it personally, but I might get used to the way of working. That might just be me becoming an old school developer now.
Now, is this a way to? Are they simplifying it even further? Is that the premise where, and just to make it as accessible to as many people as possible? Is that the premise here?
That's exactly it, yeah. So it's still aimed at developers and people that work as technologists. So I think it's open to technologists now, less so really technical developers, programmers of the past. I would say that you are starting to, again, I mean in a very respectful way, as in you're a technologist, you work in marketing, but you don't write the code yourself, but you understand a lot of the premises that are going on. I think this is now starting to open the floor up for that kind of technologist as well, someone that's just in the scene that understands, that enough to understand what's happening in the development world, but doesn't write code, themselves. That's, I think, what they're starting to target, and ultimately, it's what I believe it will become anyway. However, it's a weird experience to witness. One of the big questions I had was, how do I validate some changes? I got it to change something on the Nano Collective website, which is the collective that builds Nanocoder. Check it out on GitHub. It's also open source. And I got it to change that, but I couldn't verify the output. I looked at the code it generated and I was like, it seems right. But obviously I couldn't view it at the time because I was on my mobile phone on the sofa watching TV whilst I was asking Claude to do it. So yeah, it's an odd paradigm.
That was actually interesting because that was a question I was going to ask you, Will, is how do we check the code? Because we've talked about this in terms of security and privacy concerns and potential for hacking. We saw it with some of the crypto wallets being exposed to these sort of libraries, which developers just use and take for granted that they're okay. So, yeah, what's your thoughts in terms of that oversight?
Yes, it was a bizarre experience for me. I think it's really turning into a development partner, really, in terms of how we'd work with another human being. So in the open source world, I'll keep going on down the Nanocoder, Nano Collective route because I mentioned it already. When you write up a feature request or someone writes up a feature request on GitHub, and someone can take that feature request and they work on it, and at the end of it, they submit a pull request. And there you can look for all the code that was generated and you can validate it and sign it off. That's really what they're going for here as well. Instead of you verifying the output, at runtime, if you like, as you're doing it, you wait for the pull request to come in, and then you can look at the code Claude generated, ask for amends. The missing piece of the puzzle for me is the fact that on a standard pull request, I would run the code anyway and look at the output before going back to the contributor to ask for changes, or I can validate myself that it's working. And I can still do that with Claude, but it's much slower, right? I have to submit a pull request, and I have to log on, and I have to pull the pull request to check out what it did, and then go back and say, can you adjust this? And it's a bit of a slower workflow. Whereas Claude Code in the terminal, I can see it in real time happening. I can make changes. It's going to be a little bit faster. However, they are positioning it differently as well. They're not positioning it as full-on development and you should do your whole coding session through this. They kind of position it as do quick bug fixes, do quick maintenance, this kind of thing, which I think is probably a bit of a fairer use case at this stage. But
do you see yourself working with both sort of tools, or one over the other, or eventually this one entirely?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think for now, the traditional Claude Code is best. I say it's traditional, it's still cutting edge. Coding agents are cutting edge. But using it in your terminal is definitely the better way forward. However, I'm going to start using the iOS and the web version because I think undoubtedly it is the way it will go for proprietary software, as we've again spoken about at length as well. How we interact and we carry out tasks are going to be through natural language, and then letting the agents run off and do that and come back and report to you what it's done. I think it's going to get better and better. And, you may as well start trying to see how it fits into your process now. Do I think it will replace it now? Not at all. It's really, for me, not a novelty experience and a glimpse at where it's going, but usable, don't know, maybe.
How are less technical technologists, founders, etc., who are going to be experimenting and vibe coding and all the rest of it, how are they going to, I guess, use this? How do you foresee that happening, and what vulnerabilities do you see potentially down the road with those?
Really, I think there's going to be several vectors of improvement that have to happen. One of them is obviously the model is just going to have to get better at making error-free code. The margin of error is going to have to reduce. Right now, I mentioned it in a recent video that I did, that right now the margin of error for Claude writing the incorrect code is probably 1 in 10 prompts, roughly, probably a little bit more. And so that margin of error is far too great. I mean,
I was going to say that sounds quite a lot to me. 10%.
It's big. It's probably more, to be honest with you. It obviously there's variability in how well you prompt it, what context you give it, that kind of thing. But the error rate is still big. So that error rate has to go right down for regular technologists or people that are just interested in it with no technical expertise to be able to pick it up. And to achieve that, the next factor is we have to get better. They have to get better validation and testing frameworks. These models have to be able to run their code, which they can sort of. There's little sniffs of all of this stuff, but then there needs to be testing frameworks and validation so that models can validate their own code, correct it, validate it again, correct it till you get to the end destination, so that when you as the person prompting it or instructing it gets to see it, you might not even be seeing the first iteration, you might be seeing the fifth because it's spent 20 minutes validating and improving on its own outcome. Because, if you're not technical, you're not going to know what to look for, whereas at the moment I do.
No. Do you see this eventually being sort of filtered down to the masses where, a mum and pop store, can literally say, oh, we need a new website. We'll just go in this new thing and just say, create a website, and literally just natural language, just create it. Do you see that's the direction?
Undoubtedly. I mean, you could even argue that's already here.
True.
With current solutions, you've got GoDaddy Website Builder, which has natural language, prompt what you want. You have Lovable, Bold. You have a bunch. So I would argue that it's already here. I think what will happen is you just be able to build more and more complex software without technical knowledge at this point. So whether that applies to you, like Joe's Bakery, I don't know, but the tools will be available to them if they want to pick them up.
Yeah, definitely. I hear Bob's Bakery is better, by the way.
So no, it's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of the future for developers, I mean, we're getting a bit deeper here in terms of more, socio-economical sort of repercussions of this technology. Where does the future, lay for people who've, maybe transitioned their careers a few years ago? Again, tech's, going crazy. I need to get into tech. I'm going to be a developer, and everything's going to be roses. Suddenly, within the last few years, this AI is just boom hit.
Yeah.
How's it going to leave the world of developers?
I don't think that anyone really knows the answer to that. I think jobs will obviously still exist. I think they're going to be dramatically changed. As I said, right now, I'm focusing on, in terms of a long horizon trajectory for what we're doing and what we're thinking about doing, is we need to build these tools because they're coming anyway. So help build them, and be at the front row seat of that. 2, I think just for regular people, or regular developers, people that have just left university or college or whatever, and trying to get into software engineering, the jobs are just going to be different. I think there's going to be a whole lot more focus on strategy and orchestration and project management. How do you orchestrate a team of agents to achieve, these long horizon development tasks? That's still going to be a thing. In terms of there's different areas of programming that are going to be changed as well. So front end development, that's the websites, what it looks like. That's already, that job is already changing dramatically now. More complicated back end jobs, specialists, cybersecurity. These things will stay around a little bit longer, but it's hard to say, isn't it? Why couldn't an AI agent do that as well? In the future, we're talking unlimited possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. It is mind-blowing. Well, listen, on that note, Will, let's wrap it up. And for the audience, if you're still here, thanks so much for still hanging around to listen to us talk about all this sort of stuff. I hope you found it interesting. Love to know what you guys think as well, because again, this is us sharing our views. I just heard about this as in this moment. So, but equally, that's what you're doing too. So I'd love to hear what you think, see what your reactions are, see what your thoughts are. And say hello in the comments, of course. So for now, we'll leave you to it, and look forward to catching up with you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.